Peace News. We are live this September 28th, 2014. It is Sunday. I'm your host, Derek J. We're broadcasting from Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world. You can call in, share your stories of peaceful resistance. 443-424-8347 is our Hi-Fi Civ Dis call-in line. You can also send a Skype contact request to Peace News Now. That request will be accepted, and I will put you on the air. You can also tweet at me. That's at DerekJME. And I want to hear from you. We're broadcasting this video as well as audio at peacenewsnow.com/live, where you can get interactive. Join others in a chat room. I'm signed in there over as Derek J in the chat room, and I want to hear from you in all of these various different ways. This program is interactive, but we're going to talk about a bunch of news stories. We've got way too much to get to today, so let's fly right into it. Just a couple of teasers for these headlines. Catalonia, is their independence next? FBI blasts Apple and Google for locking police out of their phones. Tacoma CopBlockers identify an electronic device found on their truck, plus another officer-involved shooting. NYPD arrests give the First Amendment a boost. We've got an interesting article from Reason.com on that topic. Plus, student protests in Colorado. This is perhaps the biggest peaceful resistance news story of the week, so be sure to get to that. Plus, are there going to be drink checks on Florida beaches now? PoliceStateUSA.com has the story. And checkpoint cop loses it on video. If you watched the last episode of Cop Block Radio, you've already seen this video of an Illinois state trooper losing it on this one peaceful cop blocker. Hilarious video. We'll get to that. NourishingLiberty.com's Liz Reitzig penned an awesome article about who owns the rivers. She tells that story beautifully, detailing the history of the Klamath River. Plus, Saudi Arabia, a U.S. ally, beheaded 8 people last month. So what is this war on terror really about if our allies, our so-called allies, are beheading 8 people per month? All coming up on Peace News Now. So plus, we'll take your calls. Let's get into the first story here. My focus is always on independence. So Catalonia, why are they making the news? BBC.com has the story in their world section. Tom Burridge reports a large section of Catalan society wants a vote. The president of the Spanish region of Catalonia has signed a decree calling for a referendum on independence. Artur Mas wants Catalonia to hold a Scottish-style vote on the 9th of September, but does not have the backing of the central government in Madrid. Spain quickly denounced the move, calling the plan unconstitutional. Catalonia, which includes Barcelona, is one of Spain's richest and most highly industrialized regions, and also one of the most independent-minded. Now, isn't this interesting that lawmakers in the capital would say, no, you can't break free, you can't become independent of us. We need you, baby. Isn't it like a bad breakup? It's ridiculous that these people who say, we're free, we want to be independent, we send more money to you than we receive benefits in return, we're through. They're being told, no, that is unconstitutional. I wonder when Catalonia joined in with Spain as part of their constitution, whether or not they believed they had the ability to opt out of the union they were opting into. Or do they really opt into it in the first place? It raises all kinds of questions about authority. Where does legitimate authority come from? And who owns you? On 19th of September, Catalan lawmakers voted by a margin of 106 to 28 in favor of authorizing the referendum, known locally as a consultation. Separatists are pushing the 9N hashtag on social media as they promote the proposed vote on the 9th of September. And I've got a visual for you here. Those of you who are watching along on YouTube, you can see this is the hashtag 9N that people are using on social media. Independence, hashtag 9N, the 9th of September, or 9th of November. I hope it happens. Here's a picture of independence supporters gathered outside the Generalitat Palace in support of Mr. Artur Mas. We've also got a picture of Artur Mas signing the decree in short, and a symbolic ceremony here with a bunch of statesmen behind him and what looks to be a castle. Lots of famous people from Catalonia. That who's the famous architect? Gosh, his name escapes me at the moment. But Catalonia is the birthplace of a lot of independent-minded thinkers. Here's the signed decree. We've got some beautiful pictures of Mr. Mas emerged, smiling after a move which Madrid will seek to block. So we've got a little battle going on here. So far, a cold war. It's just a war of words saying, we want to be independent, and Madrid saying, no. But will this get heated? We'll see. Hopefully not. Hopefully it can just maintain itself in the realm of words. But continuing from the article at bbc.com, Mr. Rajoy and the Spanish government believe any vote would be illegal. 2 hours after Mr. Mas signed the decree, Spanish Deputy Prime Minister Soraya Saenz made Madrid's position clear. Quote, "The referendum will not be held because it is unconstitutional," she said. The Prime Minister is expected to take action at a special cabinet meeting early next week and is likely to take the dispute to the country's constitutional court. However, Mr. Mas says he can use local laws to hold the vote. Ooh, going right over the heads of the authorities. The decree was signed in a short ceremony and will serve as a message of intent to Spain's central government. The question now will be on how far the Spanish government is prepared to go in order to stop a referendum. Mr. Mas has previously insisted that the pro-independence movement will prevail, even if it faces stiff opposition. Catalonia wants to speak, he said after the signing on Saturday. Wants to be heard, wants to vote. Now is the right time, and we have the right legal framework to do so. Yeah, I'm not sure you do, actually. I'm never sure how well this is going to go over when people decide to vote for their own freedom. Like, hey, if you could vote for your own freedom, they probably wouldn't put it up for a vote, right? If you're enslaved, do you think your master says, well, if all the slaves on the plantation want to be free, don't you think we should let them do that? No, you get whipped if you step out of line. And you certainly can't vote yourself off of the plantation. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens. It didn't work for Scotland, whether you think it was foul play at the people counting the votes behind the scenes, or whether you think that they just didn't have the rights to do it, or whether you think it was unconstitutional. I want to know your thoughts. I want to know what you think is going to happen in Catalonia. I'm going to cheer them on. I'm supporting the Catalonian independence, and independence down to the individual level. You know, you really can't do it with a vote. So I hope that a lot of the people who are working towards independence in Catalonia just say, F it. You know, this is our way to generate media attention about this issue of independence and total human freedom, you know, down to the individual level. But we'll just use this framework of secession and Catalonian independence to talk about those issues of total human freedom. So very exciting. I want to know about that. We'll be following that story. Now, let's get into FBI blasts Apple and Google for locking the police out of their phones. This from the Washington Post. Quote, FBI Director James B. Comey sharply criticized Apple and Google on Thursday for developing forms of smartphone encryption so secure that law enforcement officials cannot easily gain access to information stored on the devices, even when they have valid search warrants. His comments were the most forceful yet from a top government official, but echo a chorus of denunciation from law enforcement officials nationwide. Police have said the ability to search phones, messages, and web histories on smartphones is essential to solving a range of serious crimes, including murder, child pornography, and attempted terrorist attacks. Quote, there will come a day when it will matter a great deal to the lives of people that we will be able to gain access to such devices, Comey told reporters in a briefing. Quote, I want to have that conversation with companies responsible before that day comes. Yeah, I'm not sure I buy it. Sorry, Comey, you don't have the right to invade my privacy. And if Google and Apple are helping me out, protecting my privacy, more power to them. Screw you, FBI. Screw you, police. I don't want you going through my phone, not without my consent. This is Peace News. I want to hear your stories of peaceful resistance. Skype us. Peace News Now.
Liberty activists around the country are starting to realize politics alone won't set us free. So what will? At Liberty on the Rocks, we believe the answer starts with living your principles, spreading ideas, and connecting with those around you. By starting a Liberty on the Rocks network, you can make a difference by uniting libertarian thinkers. Find out how much fun it is to build your local network from the ground up. Visit libertyontherocks.org today to get started.
Free Press Publications is an independent, alternative media and publishing company founded in June 2009 with the mission of ensuring a free press for the freedom movement and is committed to spreading the message of peace, freedom, love, and liberty. FPP also gives new authors an avenue for publishing freedom-oriented material. FPP brings you daily news and commentary on the website, fpp.cc, as well as a daily 5-minute newscast, FPP Radio News, and weekly news, views, and commentary in the FPP Freedom Minute and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio at fppradio.com, and the monthly newspaper, FPP News, at news.fpp.cc. Find FPP online at fpp.cc. That's fpp.cc, as in Creative Commons.
Instead of just listening, you can also watch. See the Liberty Radio Network's key New Hampshire-based live shows via our studio cam at cam.lrn.fm. Plus, you'll still be able to listen to the Liberty Radio Network via the cam feed in high quality 24/7, even when there's no live show being produced in our Keene studio. But wait, there's more. Our chat room is built into the cam page so you can interact with other listeners online. Listen, watch, and chat, all free at cam.lrn.fm. That's cam.lrn.fm.
Shiny badges on your jacket, shiny badges.
This is Davi Barker from ShinyBadges.com, and I just want to personally apologize for airing a jingle week after week, month after month, that turned out to be such an infectious brainworm. So to make it up to you, I'm offering a free gift. The next time you make a purchase at ShinyBadges.com, write worms in the transaction comments, and I'll send you something weird.
The 3 most important things you can do for LRN.FM are: 1. Let your friends know you're listening to LRN.FM on your social networking profile. 2. Buy the things you buy online through shop.lrn.fm. 3. Give $5 a month to the AMP program at amp.lrn.fm. You likely buy all kinds of things online. Amazon is the largest online retailer. You can get what you need at the same great prices, and LRN gets a cut. Please do your online shopping at shop.lrn.fm.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. Find out about giving to our Google AdWords campaign at amp.freetalklive.com. That's amp.freetalklive.com.
You can interact with other LRN listeners in our message board at forum.lrn.fm. That's forum.lrn.fm.
Peace News. Welcome back to the show, this live Sunday, September 28th edition. It is 2014, and we're talking about peaceful resistance stories. We started out talking about Catalonia. It's very important that individuals who want to be free do it. Be free. Show others what it's like. Show them whether it's all it's chopped up to be, or whether it's not. Maybe you're better off being dependent on Madrid. Who knows, Catalonia? Only you can decide. The vote will be November 9th. Then again, I wonder if people who want independence even have a right to force it on others who don't want to be independent, those who want to remain dependent on the state. Pro-dependence, if you will. Hey, it'll be interesting. We'll follow along. But we're turning to a story now from the Washington Post, where the FBI is blasting Apple and Google, saying, hey, you made it too hard for us to get into those phones without people's permission. Now consent matters. Turn it off, damn it. Well, they're not going to. Comey added that he's the leader of the FBI, or the head of the FBI. I hesitate to call him a leader. Comey added that FBI officials already have made initial contact with the two companies, that would be Google and Apple, which announced their new smartphone encryption initiatives last week. He said he could not understand why companies would market something expressly to allow people to place themselves beyond the law. Comey's remarks followed last week. It's news that Apple's latest mobile operating system, iOS 8, is so thoroughly encrypted that the company is unable to unlock iPhones or iPads, even for police. Google, meanwhile, is moving an automatic form of encryption for its newest version of Android operating system that the company will also not be able to unlock, though it will take longer for the new feature to reach most customers. Both companies declined to comment on Comey's remarks. Apple has said its new encryption is not intended to specifically hinder law enforcement, but to improve device security against any potential intruder. For devices working through for detectives working a tough case, few types of evidence are more revealing than a smartphone. Call logs, instant messages, and location records can link a suspect to a crime precisely when and where it occurred. And a surprising number of criminals, police say, like to take selfies posing with accomplices, and often the loot they stole together. But the era of easy law enforcement access to smartphones may be drawing to a close, as courts and tech companies erect new barriers to police of popular electronic devices. The result, say law enforcement officials, legal experts, and forensics analysis, is that more and more seized smartphones will end up as little more than shiny paperweights, with potentially incriminating secrets locked inside forever. The irony, some say, is that while the legal and technical challenges are fueled by anger over over reports of mass surveillance by the National Security Agency, the consequences are being felt most heavily by police detectives, often armed with warrants certifying that a judge has found probable cause that a search of a smartphone will reveal evidence of a crime. Quote, the outrage is directed at warrantless mass surveillance, and this is a very different context. It's searching a device with a warrant, said Oren Carr, a former Justice Department computer crimes lawyer who's now a professor at George Washington University. No, dude, you don't get it. People don't want to be spied on. It doesn't matter if it's with a warrant or not. People are saying, my privacy matters. I'm going to take ownership. I'm going to take control of my privacy. And screw you, anyone who wants to invade my privacy, whether or not you have a shiny tin badge that calls you a police officer or a detective, or whether you're just some common thug. You're not getting into my phone. You're not looking through my dick pics, all right? My private data is sacred. And privacy and over property should be sacred. You know, people should reclaim this right back. Good on Apple and Google for using encryption and making it easier for people to protect their data. We don't want to be spied on. How clear can we make it? Well, this professor at George Washington University, a former Justice Department computer crimes lawyer, he just doesn't get it. Oh, this is searching a device with a warrant. You know, a judge says there might be a crime here. Yeah, you know, and police just don't take cell phones and take devices that they think are valuable, and then, whoops, you don't get to use that anymore, or whoops, it got lost in the evidence room. This happens all the time, okay? And so for police to have this extra excuse to take people's property, let's show them that it's meaningless. You can't take my phone. It's not going to do you any good. But they do this so often. They take video cameras, they take cell phones, thinking, hey, you've got some evidence on there. I need to take that from you. Well, what gives you the right, man? And now with this encryption, they're going to see it's not even worth it. We can take their phone, but we won't get the video off of it. So good, they should learn that lesson. But not all the high-tech tools are favored by police. But not all the high-tech tools favored by police are in peril. They can still seek records of calls or texts from cellular carriers, eavesdrop on conversations, and, based on the cell towers used, determine the general location of suspects. And don't forget that Stingray. They're probably not going to mention it in this article, but if you Google Stingray police, you'll see that there's a device they use that mimics a cell phone tower, essentially can take and reroute your calls while listening and recording them. Police can seek data backed up on remote cloud services, which increasingly keep copies of the data collected by smartphones. And the most sophisticated law enforcement agencies can deliver malicious software to phones capable of making them spy on users. Okay, so just taking this one little power away, the police should really not be crying themselves and wetting the bed about it because, people got a little bit of encryption. Now they have a little bit more privacy. Look at all the tools still at your disposal, police. You can still spy on everyone. Yet, the devices themselves are gradually moving beyond the reach of police in a range of circumstances, prompting ire from investigators. Frustration is running particularly high at Apple, which made the first announcement about new encryption and is moving more swiftly than Google to get it into the hands of consumers. Quote, Apple will become the phone of choice for the pedophile, says John J. Escalante, chief of the detectives for Chicago Police Department. The average pedophile at this point is probably thinking, I've got to get an Apple phone. What a slanderous statement. You can tell that the police are really upset about this if Chicago's top cop is saying, pedophiles are going to go get an Apple phone. Are you kidding me? This is people who respect privacy. But if you've got nothing to hide. This is straight out of Nazi propaganda. This is Goebbels speaking here. You've got nothing to hide. You've got nothing to fear. Only pedophiles would want privacy. The rising use of encryption is already taking a toll on the ability of law enforcement officials to collect evidence from smartphones. Apple, in particular, has been introducing tough new security measures for more than 2 years that have made it difficult for police armed with cracking software to break in. The new encryption is significantly tougher. There are some things you can do. There are some things the NSA can do. For the average mortal, I'd say they're probably out of luck, says a forensics researcher based in New Hampshire. Los Angeles Police Detective Brian Collins, who does forensics analysis for anti-gang and narcotics investigations, says he works on about 30 smartphones a month. And while he can still successfully crack into most of them, the percentage has been gradually shrinking, a trend he fears will only accelerate. You can bet it will, Brian Collins, LAPD detective. Yeah, I've been an investigator for almost 27 years, Collins said. It's concerning that we're beginning to go backwards with this technology. No, not backwards, Collins. We're moving in the right direction, towards privacy, towards control over the individual. The individual has sovereignty, not you. You don't own me. You don't own my phone or my data. Get out of my phone. I'm using encryption now. This is Peace News.
Keenvention is coming up October 31st through November 2nd. Get your tickets now at keenvention.info. Keenvention is your chance to meet dozens of key liberty activists from across the Shire. You can explore the beautiful little city of Keene, discuss various forms of activism with seasoned veterans, attend social events like the costume party. Keenvention received rave reviews last year. If you missed it, visit keenvention.info for full video coverage of every speaker and panel. This year, James Robin Hood Cleveland, Rich Paul, and Free State Project President Carla Garrick will be keynoting. And we'll have all kinds of panels, including the new CopBlock panel and the new Movers panel hosted by the outlaw Josie Wales. Join old and new friends and neighbors in Keene for Keenvention this October 31st through November 2nd. Only 100 tickets are available in advance, so lock yours in now for just $60 or with Bitcoin. Reserve your tickets now at keenvention.info. Visit keenvention.info for more, or look for our page and event on Facebook. That's keenvention.info. Ross Ulbricht was arrested by the FBI in 2013 and charged with victimless crimes in relation to allegedly operating the Bitcoin-based Silk Road black market. He has been in a prison cell awaiting trial ever since. If he did it, he's a hero for making the black market a safer place. If he did not, he's a man wrongfully accused. Either way, if you love freedom and want to end the war on drugs, Ross and his family need your support. You can learn more and help fund his defense at freeross.org. That's freeross.org. Andrew Michael Jones is a liberty-loving activist and participant in the Free State Project. He's also been accused of being one of the administrators of the infamous Silk Road Anonymous Black Marketplace. Andrew is facing a federal trial for multiple crimes with no victim. Whether or not he's the Silk Road administrator named Inigo, he has not been accused of harming anyone. In fact, the Silk Road is actually an amazing advancement that has reduced the overall harm of the black market to both customers and drug sellers. Whether or not he did it, Andrew, like alleged Silk Road founder Ross Ulbricht, deserves the support of people who love liberty. Visit drewsdefense.org to learn more and contribute to his defense. You can donate via PayPal or in Bitcoin, as I did. That's drewsdefense.org. Drew's family does not have much, and his parents have put up their home and both retirement incomes to secure a $1 million bond on Andrew. He's currently on 24/7 house arrest and is prohibited from touching any device that could connect to the internet. Please contribute to his defense fund via drewsdefense.org.
Did you know you can get news updates about what's happening with the Liberty Radio Network delivered in the way you prefer? You can sign up for our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. Plus, you can stay in the loop by joining our Facebook profile at facebook.lrn.fm or follow us at Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm. It's all free, so sign up now at updates.lrn.fm for news updates delivered to your email box, facebook.lrn.fm to follow our Facebook page, and twitter.lrn.fm to receive our tweets.
We've got Today Now's medical expert, Dr. Kareem Mazari, here to give us some tips on how to convince a stubborn little guy to take off his Spider-Man costume and start wearing normal clothes so people don't think he's a weirdo. And also joining us is my son Spencer, still dressed as Spider-Man. Spencer?
Hi, Mom.
I find the best thing to do is to try and have a dialogue with your child. Now, Spencer, why won't you take your costume off?
Because then people will know my true identity.
You're not even wearing the mask. People already know who you are.
Well, bargaining can work. Explain to your child.
Is it not enough that I say take off the Spider-Man costume? Now I've got to bargain with my own child? Jesus Christ.
You know,
Spencer, sit down. Sit down. Do you want to be put in the silence trunk again? You don't like the silence trunk, do you?
Okay.
I'm Spider-Man. I'm Spider-Man.
Spencer, sit down right now. Sit down, you little face, or I will break the rest of your toys on purpose. Do you understand me?
This is the Onion News Network.
If you enjoy LRN.FM, please contribute to your favorite shows via their websites and become an amplifier at amp.lrn.fm. That's amp.lrn.fm.
This is Peace News. Welcome back. We're talking about the FBI and how they're upset that Apple and Google are looking out for your privacy. Boo-hoo. The new encryption initiatives by Apple and Google come after June's Supreme Court ruling requiring police, in most circumstances, to get a search warrant before gathering data from a cell phone. The magistrate courts that typically issue search warrants, meanwhile, are more carefully scrutinizing requests amid the heightened privacy concerns that followed the NSA disclosures that began last year. Civil liberties activists call this shift a necessary correction to the deterioration of personal privacy in the digital era, and especially since Apple's introduction of the iPhone in 2007 inaugurated an era in which smartphones became remarkably intimate companions of people everywhere. Law enforcement has an enormous range of technical and old-fashioned methods to go after the perpetrators of real crime, and no amount of security effort at Silicon Valley tech companies is going to change that fact, said Peter Eckersley, director of the technology projects of the Electronic Frontier Foundation, a civil liberties group based in San Francisco. Quote, "The reality is that if the FBI really wants to investigate someone, they have a spectacular arsenal of weapons. Sometimes police say, that's not enough." Escalante, the chief of detectives in Chicago, pointed to a case in which several men forced their way into the home of a retired officer in March and shot him in the face as his wife lay helplessly nearby. When the victim, Elmer Brown, 73, died 2 weeks later, detectives working with the case were already running low on useful leads. But police got a break during a routine traffic stop in June, confiscating a Colt revolver that once belonged to Brown, police say. That led investigators to a Facebook post made 2 days after the homicide, in which another man posted a cell phone selfie with the same gun. Well, this is awful detective work. My goodness. If he's posting Facebook selfies with his gun, first of all, several men forced their way into the home of a retired police officer. So you think, first of all, why doesn't a retired police officer have some sort of surveillance or cameras or have some sort of defense in his house that he can either shoot at the people who are intruding on their way in, or he could have a door that actually works and keeps people out? His wife lay helpless as he's shot in the face and then somehow mysteriously lives for 2 weeks later. It's really a strange story. So when he's pulling this as the example of saying, like, this is why we need to search people's phones, this is a bad example. The police found the smartphone used for that picture. The case broke open, investigators say. Though the Android device was locked with a swipe code, a police forensics lab was able to defeat it to collect evidence, and underlying data was not encrypted. 3 males, one of whom was a juvenile, were eventually arrested. Quote, "You present them with a picture of themselves taken with the gun, and it's hard to deny it," said Chief Richard Weiser, head of the Chicago Violent Crimes Unit that investigated the case. "It's played a huge role in this whole thing. As it took 6 months to get them. Who knows how long it would have taken without this?" Well, who knows? Yes, that is your job. You're supposed to respect people's privacy while still doing your job, and it is possible to do both. At least it's been possible for most of human history, but somehow police have forgotten that and said, but it's so much easier when we just invade everyone's privacy, when we just own everything in the world and can sift through everyone's records without asking permission. We could do our job so much easier. Why does privacy matter? Well, privacy does matter, and it matters to you, and it matters to me. So we're going to continue using encryption, right? Encrypt your data, encrypt your phones, encrypt your laptop, encrypt it all. This is the way to beat the man, or at least one of them. Let's learn more about ways to beat the man, as the Tacoma CopBlockers are now questioning the identity of an electronic device found on their truck. This article posted to CopBlock.org September 24th. This content was shared by those involved with Tacoma CopBlock via copblock.org/submit, and you can do the same if you've got a story you want to share with copblock.org. An individual known to those involved with the Tacoma CopBlock reached out after a device was discovered attached via a magnet to the frame of his truck. That individual was rightly surprised and shocked, as it's believed that it may be some sort of tracking device. The unit was actually discovered months ago, but since no one has yet contacted that individual about the device, this information is being made public in an attempt to ascertain its functionality and perhaps to employ whom may employ to use such technology. Any help would be greatly appreciated. An attorney with the Tacoma CopBlock is having it inspected as well. And then with an editor's note, it says, per the window lens mentioned in the video, that is on the same side as the magnets. One person suggested that if the unit wasn't placed in another mode prior to being removed from the vehicle, the introduction of light could trigger a wipe of the collected data. So that is something concerning. Who knows if the data has been wiped now that it's been exposed to light? It's very unusual. But we've got this video here. Take a listen. The police, DEA, or FBI, whose tracking device is it?
All right, here it is, magic box. As you can see, it's just this weird ass antenna. I was thinking it was maybe a GPS antenna, but then I thought, looks awfully like the one on the back of my computer. You know, kind of the same. And maybe it's Wi-Fi. Maybe when they get close to it, they can Wi-Fi download or something. I don't know. Let's see if I can get this.
So you can see it says
airbag sensor. Do not tamper with. Not really sure what that means.
So you can see the device is
Sealed
about
box.
6 inches by 4 inches.
They're not exposed like the black ones you see just when you buy refrigerator magnets or something. These ones are actually metal. So they might be earth magnets or maybe just they're regular magnets in a metal case, but they're riveted onto this box, watertight. It's got this thing on the side. Let's see if I can get that in here. got, here we go. It's got a USB port. Looks like a power button. And I think the lid, like the lid here, when you open the lid, you can see this indent. I think it's because it actually hits this button right here.
Okay, and now, so this video, he pretty much just describes what the box is. It's got a bunch of USBs on it.
I mean, it's as basic as it gets. I don't want to take the lid off again, but I will post pictures of the inside of it. There's just this big battery pack under here. And, yeah, I don't know. If anyone knows.
Very strange. So if anyone knows what this device is, you can see it on screen at peacenewsnow.com/live. It looks like a Wi-Fi box. Maybe one of those old pirate boxes that has a Wi-Fi antenna. Maybe it could connect to cell towers. I'm not really sure. Who knows what this device is and what data it's been collecting? Well, good on you for using technology, the internet, and your community to help come to an answer. The first comment on YouTube says, I work for a GPS company, and that is 100% a GPS tracker. We have GPS trackers similar to this. If you post some more pictures, I can take a look at it and try and figure out who makes it. And then some more information has been revealed since then, that it may be a particular model. People are learning more about it. This is really a community project. And who knows? Maybe there's one of these trackers on your car. And when it's your turn to discover one, you've already got the information readily available for you online of who makes it, what it is, and how to deal with it. And maybe how to wipe the data or protect yourself from being tracked in the future. Very concerning to see stories of people being tracked like that. When we return, we've got a story of student protests in Colorado. This is the big story of the week. It's a counter-protest to an anti-protest curriculum. We'll have that story and more, plus your calls. Dial in 443-424-8347 or Skype Peace News Now.
35% of U.S. credit accounts are facing collection agencies. Of that 35, almost 40% are the result of medical bills. Before uninsured friends or family go in for medical treatment, send them to AsiaRunLikeHellGuide.com. No computer tracing, no tracking cookies. They will not go on a list. Privacy matters. Just tell us what you need, get a quote. Fractions of U.S. prices. AsiaRunLikeHellGuide.com.
What if the key to achieving liberty in your lifetime was to move together with others who think like you? Liberty activists are joining the Free State Project, which is over 70% of the way to its goal of 20,000 participants. And they're already making the move to New Hampshire. The successes are piling up and are proving the Free State Project is a real movement and no longer just a great idea. When you're planning your move, consider Keene. Keene is famous for its civil disobedience and non-cooperation, and there's plenty of political opportunity as well. From demonstrations and vigils to outreach and volunteering, there's a lot going on in Keene. Keene is the liberty media capital of the world, with television, talk radio, and more, all originating here. Though it's more than just activism, with regular social events each week. See what's happening at freekeene.com and get connected with video, audio, free books, a forum, and activist tools you can download and use in your area at freekeene.com. That's freekeene.com.
Imagine someone in your community getting in their car, turning on the radio, and hearing the Liberty Radio Network. You can make that vision a reality with your own micro radio station. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how you can put our programs on the air in your area. You can have LRN.FM running around the clock, and you can even add in your own local shows. Building a radio station is simple, but programming isn't. That's where LRN.FM comes in. Learn more at broadcast.lrn.fm. That's broadcast.lrn.fm.
I love My Magic Mud. I drink a lot of coffee. I had stains on my teeth. Then I found My Magic Mud, and I was told it would remove stains. So I paid attention when I brushed the first time. My Magic Mud is black tooth powder, and the difference it made in my teeth in one application was noticeable. With 4, my teeth were as white as you normal folks out there. Please go to mymagicmud.com and buy a jar. There's 150 applications for $25. You can use Bitcoin, mymagicmud.com. The 3 most important things you can do for LRN.FM are 1. Let your friends know you're listening to LRN.FM on your social networking profile. 2. Buy the things you buy online through shop.lrn.fm. 3. Give $5 a month to the AMP program at amp.lrn.fm. It's my firm belief that the AMP program is the best use of your charitable dollar among liberty-oriented groups. Support all your favorite organizations, but make sure you give $5 a month to the AMP program at amp.lrn.fm.
Phone records, financial and location data, Prism, Tempora, X-Keyscore, Boundless Informant. Hey, y'all, Scott Horton here for offnow.org. Now, here's the deal. Due to the Snowden revelations, we have a great opportunity for a short period of time to get some real rollback of the national surveillance state. Now, they're already trying to tire us by introducing fake reforms in the Congress. And the courts, they betrayed their sworn oaths to the Constitution and Bill of Rights again and again, and can in no way be trusted to stop the abuses for us. We've got to do it ourselves. How? We nullify it at the state level. It's still not easy. The Off Now project of the 10th Amendment Center has gotten off to a great start. I mean it. There's real reason to be optimistic here. They've gotten their model legislation introduced all over the place, in state after state. I've lost count, more than a dozen. You're always wondering, yeah, but what can we do? Here's something important, something that can work if we do the work. Get started cutting off the NSA support in your state. Go to offnow.org.
You can put the Liberty Radio Network on the air in your area. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how. Broadcast.lrn.fm.
Welcome back, friends. This is Peace News, and I welcome your calls. 443-424-8347 gets you on the air, or you can send a Skype contact request to Peace News Now. You can also join us in the chat room at peacenewsnow.com/live. I'm signed in over there. You can join the other listeners. Plus, you can tweet at me, at DerekJME. I want to hear from you. In this segment, we'll be talking about, in Colorado, a student counter-protest to an anti-protest curriculum. Yep, you heard that correct. Jack Healy has the story at NewYorkTimes.com, where students in this photo can be seen holding up a sign that says, "Civil disobedience is patriotism." And 2 young students smiling as students in Avara, Colorado, fought a planned curriculum review to promote patriotism. Yes, that's right, instead of civil disobedience, but you can have both. Well, I don't know about patriotism. I'm not so fond of that word. I'm not so fond of countries and or gangs that organize themselves around the idea of violence, as governments do. But let's hold off on that idea for a moment. Suspend our disbelief in the state and pretend we're statists. Put on your statist cap for a moment. You. And play with me along at NewYorkTimes.com. Here we go. Arvada, Colorado. A new conservative school board majority here in the Denver suburbs recently proposed a curriculum review committee to promote patriotism, respect for authority, and free enterprise, and to guard against educational materials that, quote, encourage or condone civil disorder. In response, hundreds of students, teachers, and parents gave the board their own lesson in civil disobedience. On Tuesday, hundreds of students from high schools across the Jefferson County School District, the second largest in Colorado, streamed out of school along busy thoroughfares, waving signs and championing the value of learning about the fractious and tumultuous chapters of America's history. It's gotten bad, said Griffin Gus Morton, a student at Avarda High, who wants to become a teacher and spend a school day soliciting hunks from passing cars. The school board is insane. You can't erase our history. It's not patriotic. It's stupid. The student walkout became bitter. The The student walkout came after a bitter school board election last year and months of acrimony over charter schools, teacher pay, kindergarten expansion, and now the proposed review committee, which would evaluate advanced placement United States history and elementary school health classes. We've got more pictures from students in Jefferson County, Colorado. Take a look at some of these pictures of students holding banners, waving signs. Looks like they were well prepared for this rally. I wonder how much time they spent preparing and if any classroom time was spent preparing. The teachers union, whose members forced 2 high schools to close Friday by calling in sick, has been in continual conflict with the new board. The board, in turn, has drawn praise from Americans for Prosperity Colorado, a conservative group affiliated with the Cook family for foundations. In April, Dustin Zvonek, the group's director, wrote an op-ed that the board's election was an exciting and hopeful moment for the country and the school district. So far, nothing is settled in Jefferson County. The board put off the discussion of the Curriculum Review Committee until a meeting in October, and Ken Witt, the board president, suggested some of its proposed language about not promoting civil disorder, social strife, or disregard of the law might be cut. Quote, "A lot of those words were more specific and more pointed than they have to be," Mr. Witt said. He said that the school board was responsible for making decisions about curriculum and that the review committee would give a wider spectrum of parents and community members the power to examine what was taught in schools. Well, isn't that nice of the board to give the parents more power over what is taught in schools? You know who I think should have the power? The parents, not the board. Hello? The parents should be in charge of what the students get taught. They're their students. They're their children. It's not like they own them, but they are the stewards. You know, it is their job to educate these kids. That's their responsibility, not some board. And who left it up to them anyway? No wonder the people are upset. He said some made censorship allegations, quote, to incite and upset the student population. But on Tuesday, those allegations were more than enough to draw hundreds of students into the sun. They waved signs declaring, "It's world history, not white history," and talked about Cesar Chavez and Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Leaders of the walkout urged others to stay out of the streets and not to curse, and sympathetic parents brought poster board, magic markers, and bottles of water. That's a good lesson. If there's anything to be learned from this, it's be polite, stay calm, stay out of the streets, don't curse, be polite, be polite, be polite. Cannot say it enough. It is the way to win hearts and minds. Almost from the outset, the 3 conservative newcomers to the 5-person board clashed with the 2 others, and a steady stream of 3-2 votes came to represent the sharp division of the board and in the community. Critics of the new majority have assailed the board for hiring its own lawyer, calling a needless expense, and accused them of conducting school business outside of public meetings. In February, the district superintendent, Cindy Stevenson, announced during a packed emotional meeting that she was leaving after 12 years because the board did not trust or respect her. Her replacement, an assistant superintendent from Douglas County, prompted more accusations that the new majority in Jefferson County was trying to steer the district far to the right. Quote, "We've had conservatives on our board before," said Michelle Patterson, the president of the district's parent-teacher association. "They were wonderful, these people. They're not interested in balance or compromise. They have a political agenda, and they're intent on pushing it through." Mr. Witt rejected the criticism, saying he was dedicated to improving student achievement, giving equal footing to charter school students, and rewarding educators for doing their jobs well. Quote, "I would rather be doing those things without conflict. But at the end of the day, it's very important that we align with those goals," he said. In March 2010, a similar debate roiled the Texas Board of Education as its members voted overwhelmingly to adopt a social studies curriculum that heralded American capitalism and ensured that students would learn about the conservative movement's rise in the 1980s. In Colorado, students said the protests had been organized for over the weekend on Facebook groups after they read about the teacher's sick day on Friday. Some on Tuesday wandered off after a while and returned to class. Others stayed out for hours. Leanne Gray, a senior at Avarda High, said that after second period, a student ran through the hall saying, "The protest is still on!" And she and scores of classmates got up and left. She said that learning about history, strife, and all had given her a clearer understanding of the country. Quote, "As we grow up, you always hear that America is the greatest, the land of the free and the home of the brave," she said. "For all the good things we've done some terrible things. It's important to learn about those things, or we're doomed to repeat the past." Wow. Doesn't say she's a senior at the high school, so it seems like she's gotten her education. Somehow she went through the government school and learned that it's done terrible things and doesn't want to repeat the past. Well, good for her. I hope she becomes a real cultural leader in her day. She seems like she's got her head screwed on straight. Way to go, Leanne Gray. I applaud that. But I wish you would stay out of school because there's nothing good to be gained there. NYPD helps give a boost to the First Amendment. This along the same line of protests, civil disobedience as the Colorado students. Here's the NYPD, this story from Reason.com. NYPD helps give Flood Wall Street a major First Amendment victory. This story by Anthony Fisher at Reason.com. He writes at the Hit and Run blog. This past Monday's Flood Wall Street march and sit-in, organized by remnants of the Occupy Wall Street movement, was designed to provoke a confrontation with the police that would lead to mass arrests, for which for the most part failed, but not before attracting national attention to their cause via theatrical civil disobedience. Aha, ding ding. Prior to the march, leaders of the happening used the human mic to offer nonviolent direct action training, which included instructions on how to be arrested peacefully and providing pens to write the number for the National Lawyers Guild on your arm. Their stated goal was to shut down Wall Street and, by extension, capitalism, to end the climate crisis. But after 8 hours of sporadic sitting and standing, performance art, and the return of Hipster Cop, the crowd had thinned out significantly, and only 102 arrests were made. The part of the Broadway in Lower Manhattan, just north of Bowling Green, is narrow and frequently congested, even without 3,000 people in the middle of the street. Police erected barricades to separate the two sides of the street, and about a dozen bored-looking cops paced back and forth within those barricades for hours, while Flood Wall Street had their moment. Well, the protesters were peaceful, but they didn't get as many arrests as they would have hoped. Why is this still a First Amendment victory? We'll get to that when we return. Plus, we'll take your calls. This is Peace News Now.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties. Now there's a movie that aims back.
The government has no more right to tell us what to put in our bodies than they have to take our guns or tell us what books we can read.
6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm.
On your knees, you dirty hippies! Jesus. On your knees! What's the problem, officer?
Today, many cops who enforce pot laws do so only because it provides them with cushy jobs, good benefits, and a chance to push people around.
I was an undercover narcotics officer. The drug war is nothing but a farce.
The Second Amendment says you got to keep you and your gat intact.
Guns and Weed, The Road to Freedom. A film by Michael W. Dean and Nima Vadavi.
DVD available now at gunsandweed.com or on Amazon. That's gunsandweed.com. Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
If you can't listen to the Liberty Radio Network's internet streams, free satellite channel, or radio affiliates, no worries. You can listen to LRN.FM from any phone, anywhere. Add this number to your phone, 213-493-0309. It's a long-distance call, so make sure you're familiar with your phone's calling plan. The Liberty Radio Network listen lines are locked into our stream 24 hours a day. Call 213-493-0309. That's 213-493-0309.
Gabino lives in Palcapata, Peru. He buys old appliances like irons, radios, and TV sets, fixes them up, and resells them. He saw an opportunity to expand his business and needed a loan to buy more appliances. Free Talk Live helped him get a loan, and the expansion was a success. You can help us help more people by getting your coffee through coffee.freetalklive.com. Make a difference, 1 cup at a time. Get a free pound to try out the subscription. Cancel anytime. Coffee.freetalklive.com.
More Peace News Now is coming up next, live after the news, here on the Liberty Radio Network, LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Sunday, September 28th, 2014. Silver is trading at $17.67 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,219 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $392. Antiwar.com reports, though Turkey was loudly touted by the Obama administration as a key ally adding to their coalition against the Islamic State, so far Turkey has not agreed to take any military role in the war, and indeed had previously ruled such a role out over concern about hostages. With the hostages freed, Turkish officials are now opening up to the possibility of some military role, with President Tayyip Erdogan saying the country could take a role in the future fighting against the Islamic State. The comments were decidedly non-committal, though Erdogan did say he was open to deploying ground troops into Syria for the creation of a future buffer zone along the border. Turkey has been keen to see a buffer zone created inside Syria as a way of getting rid of some 1.3 million refugees they've taken in since the war began. Since much of the Turkish-Syrian border is now held by the Islamic State, it's not an ideal place to carve out a temporary refugee camp. Turkey had proposed the buffer zone years ago when the Syrian civil war began, but the fact that they're once again floating the idea suggests they may be nearing some commitment to the conflict, despite the huge risk of blowback and fighting a war along their southern border. FPP Radio News is brought to you by Bitcoin Not Bombs. Bitcoin Not Bombs is a launching pad for nonprofits and social entrepreneurs into the financial freedom of the Bitcoin economy. Bitcoin Not Bombs is fully committed to being the hub of the nonprofit sector of the Bitcoin economy, maximizing the potential cross-promotion of all our clients and commercial partners. To learn more, visit bitcoinnotbombs.com. Reuters reports, the president of Spain's Catalonia region signed a decree on Saturday calling an independence referendum on November 9th, putting him on a collision course with the central government, which says such a vote would be illegal. The wealthy northeastern region, which accounts for around 1/5 of Spain's economy, has its own language and distinct culture, and has long fought for self-rule. A large majority of Catalans want to hold a referendum on independence, according to polls. The region's president, Artur Mas, signed the decree in a solemn ceremony in the Catalan government offices in Barcelona, surrounded by his government and political allies in his campaign for independence. Mas said in a speech immediately after the signing ceremony, Catalonia wants to speak, wants to be heard, wants to vote. Now is the right time, and we have the right legal framework to do so. Madrid has vowed to block the referendum. On Friday, the Spanish Deputy Prime Minister said the cabinet would meet on Monday to formalize the appeal against the vote. The objection would then be handed to the Constitutional Court, suspending the vote until a final ruling on its legality, which could take years. Spain's central government says a Catalan independence referendum would violate the country's 1978 constitution, drawn up on Spain's transition to democracy. Mas is under pressure from separatist coalition partners to go ahead with the referendum, even if it is declared illegal, although he has himself said that he would not do anything that is against the law. FPP Radio News is brought to you by Roberts & Roberts Brokerage. For over 35 years, Roberts & Roberts has been a trusted source for buying and selling your investment-grade precious metals. They now take Bitcoin for purchasing precious metals so you can turn your profits into a long-term investment. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on investing. 800-874-9760. The AP reports a volcano in central Japan erupted in spectacular fashion on Saturday, catching mountain climbers by surprise and stranding at least 40 injured people in areas that rescue workers have been unable to reach. Another 7 are missing. The injured, who were unable to descend the 10,000-foot Mount Antaki on their own, are staying in mountain lodges. 32 people had serious injuries, including at least 7 who lost consciousness. Police, fire, and military rescue workers were planning to try to reach the area on foot after daybreak on Sunday after deciding that the ash in the air made it too dangerous to use a helicopter. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
A local grandmother is beginning to realize that her family never even looked for a better nursing home. A man leaves a father-daughter dance with a different girl than he came with, and an earthquake late warning system goes off in Haiti. Watch as yet another precious fraction of your life passes mercilessly in front of your very eyes. This is the Onion Week in Review. Shortly after discovering he had locked himself outside of his suburban home Thursday, fully nude claims adjuster David Ronzo delivered a moving and thought-provoking treatise on the frailty of the human condition to a slowly gathering crowd of his neighbors. Ronzo, who initially panicked when he realized he was naked, soon turned and faced confused passersby and delivered a stirring oration on the grim facts of mortality, along with the indomitable nature of the human spirit. In other news, a man is arrested for stealing over $50,000 worth of beards from Hank Williams Jr. A pretty lady is playing hard to follow, and a dog named Murph lives up to his name. For more, visit theonion.com/newsbeat.
This is the Onion News Network.
It's the top of the hour here on Peace News. Good to be with you this Sunday, September 28th, 2014. I'm your host, Derek J., and you can learn about me and catch all the different shows that I do, Cop Block Radio, Free Talk Live, Freedom Fiends, Bitcoin Talk Show, and the Bitcoin Group, all at one website, derekj.me. That's where you can see video, podcasts, articles, random blogs, video logs, all my raw videos that I shoot walking around here in Keene. I could read my past jail blogs. When I was in jail, I wrote blogs. So much to do and read over at derekj.me. Go over there, check it out, see what I've done with the website. I'm really proud of it, and I hope you'll find something valuable there. You can also send a donation, because this show is only sponsored by you, the listener, by sending a donation in Bitcoin. We've got a QR code here for people who are watching on YouTube, or you can also send a Bitcoin donation to derekj.me/sponsor. You'll see my Bitcoin QR code and address there. Every donation counts, even if you send like 50 cents. I am really cool with that, and I'll dig it. I'll be happy. So let's move along to NYPD. The New York Police Department is helping give a boost to the First Amendment. This article at Reason.com, we're returning to the story of Flood Wall Street, this group of people who wanted to do some street theater and civil disobedience, get some attention for anti-capitalism and that sort of message by doing civil disobedience. Well, 102 arrests were made. Not as many as they had hoped, but still pretty newsworthy. And let's just return to this story here. Though most of the protesters were peaceful, many shouted insults at the police, and some, like the prankster who tried to lasso the Wall Street Bull, came perilously close to assaulting police officers, which could have easily sparked a wider confrontation. Yeah, that's a good point. When people are trying to do good activism, keep it focused. You don't want, this is just the nature of the beast. When you get people together and they have different ideas about what to do, they're not so organized, well, they're going to act in any sort of way they want. Yeah, you're going to have people who don't have the same message as you, but I think it's really powerful when a group of activists do a focused activism, like the Shire Choir did a great job of this, where they focused on the peace and justice, songs of peace and justice, and they would focus on, during the Christmas holidays, singing carols about ending prohibition. And it wasn't people throwing Molotov cocktails and others singing songs about ending prohibition. It was all in unison, singing along. So there's something kind of beneficial about being centralized in your approach here with doing civil disobedience activism, because you know how bad it could have looked if this lasso guy ended up hitting one of the cops, and then that caused a violent pepper spray taser confrontation, or God forbid someone dies in a chokehold by the NYPD. I mean, it would totally ruin the message of the Flood Wall Street crew. But anyway, let's continue with the story here. What most befuddled and frustrated the protesters was that the cops seemed to be in no hurry to crack skulls and drag thousands of hippies to the pokey. Well, maybe they're learning. They could be forgiven for expecting a heavy-handed response from the NYPD, given how the cops handled the eviction of the original Occupy Wall Street encampment. But credit where credit's due. The police allowed the protesters to have their say before calling off the party as night fell, and then handling the disbursement as peacefully as possible. Brooklyn College professor and police reform advocate Alex S. Vitale praised the NYPD for its patience, tolerance, and professionalism, going so far as to award them credit for giving the First Amendment a, quote, major victory. Here's the words of college professor Alex Vitale. He says, "A couple of thousand people showed up at around 11:30 a.m. Many sat down next to the bull sculpture in the middle of Broadway, just above Bowling Green. They were allowed to occupy that space for much of the afternoon. The police made no effort to arrest them, disperse them, or even to isolate them from onlookers. This was a major departure from past practice. Similar efforts in recent years have been met with widespread use of force to push demonstrators onto sidewalks, along with often random arrests to intimidate others. By around 3:30 p.m., many of those sitting in dispersed, but several hundred marched north towards Wall Street. Police made no or little effort to contain them until demonstrators attempted to breach the barriers blocking access to Wall Street. At that point, a few people were subjected to pepper spray and punches as they wrestled with police over the barricades there. A not unreasonable use of force given the circumstances. Even after that violent confrontation, police allowed people to occupy Broadway for another 3 hours before finally warning, then arresting, and the remaining 100 protesters in a calm, deliberate, and methodical manner. While most may criticize the mayor for tying the NYPD's hands, in fact, this is an example of the kind of more tolerant and flexible policing the city needs as an antidote to 20 years of aggressive zero-tolerance approaches. The First Amendment scored a major victory this week. That is an awesome article. I'm glad to read it. I want to see stories like this. I used to believe that the New York City and their police department, that was occupied territory. That was like, you know, Nazi land. That was Germany in the 1930s, and I'm to stay the hell away, right? Because I saw the crackdowns during Occupy Wall Street. Here's some people just peacefully protesting, and they're being violently thrown into cages, pepper sprayed, badly beaten, bloodied, all by police officers. For what? Just for a paycheck? Because they were told to? It really seemed like things were getting bad. But this gives me hope that people are saying, okay, look, this is a way that some people are going to act out. This is a way that they're going to bring attention to a situation. Should the police be cracking skulls? Of course not. And they didn't. Credit where credit's due. I'm happy to read a story like this. Now let's turn to police who are doing the wrong thing. PoliceStateUSA.com. Headline, police to perform warrantless beverage inspections on, quote, anybody visiting Florida beaches. Wow. Holmes Beach, Florida. Here's the story. With the help of a new technology and federal grant money, police are preparing to warrantlessly search people's refreshments as they visit the beaches of Florida. New passive alcohol detectors can simply be hovered above a person's beverage to detect whether it contains alcohol. Similar devices can detect alcohol on someone's breath. On Holmes Beach, even the mere possession of sealed alcohol containers is illegal. People and police are using that as an excuse. Okay, so police are using that as an excuse to inspect anyone's beverage they choose. Quote, we can go up to anybody we want, okay? If I see something that looks like alcohol, said Holmes Beach Police Chief Bill Takager. Our main demographic of concern is your younger generation, the chief continued. When you add the alcohol to the youth, it doesn't give you a more intelligent human being. And so we should put them in cages, right, Chief? The searches are facilitated by grant money from the federal government through the Click It or Ticket campaign of the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. States and local police departments are encouraged to set up checkpoints and perform warrantless searches under the guise of road safety. If local police were not eager to violate citizens' rights, bribes from the federal government all but ensure that departments across the USA are using military equipment and using dubious police techniques. Police State USA recently covered a National Highway Traffic Safety Administration funded program that paid for police checkpoints to be set up along the roads in 60 U.S. cities with the purpose of collecting DNA samples from drivers. You can take a look at the beverage inspection that was covered at policestateusa.com. Just a shocking story. And I wonder if things do have to get real bad before they get better. That's often the expression, the cliches, that things have to get bad before they get better. But I don't know. I would hope they could just be set on the path to better right away, and that we could all just learn our lessons from history. Well, when we come back, I've got a video you don't want to miss. Talk about things getting bad. This belligerent cop really loses his temper. We've all heard the expression, driving's not a right, it's a privilege. You've heard that before. But this cop brings it to a whole nother level. Watch how this is done. This man, Ryan Taylor, he records the police. He does an excellent job of maintaining his composure, staying calm, and holding the police accountable. We can learn a lot from this interaction. This is Peace News Now.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it. And once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world. So I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here. And I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, add yourself to the Shire map at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
DVD, books, music, instruments, periodicals, computers, software, electronics, photo, cell phone, office products, home and garden, bed and bath, furniture, kitchen, pet supplies, automotive, hardware, apparel, shoes, jewelry, grocery, healthcare, sports and outdoors, toys, games, used, and more.
It's a department store at your fingertips. Shop.lrn.fm. Get all your shopping done, get a great deal, and a portion of your purchase goes to benefit the Liberty Radio Network when you shop at Amazon via shop.lrn.fm. On LRN.FM, we talk a lot about alternative currencies. Did you know that now you can buy gold, silver, and other precious metals with Bitcoins? LRN.FM has partnered with Amaji Metals to bring you great prices on beautiful .999 fine silver, as well as gold, platinum, and other metals. Check out their selection and pay with Bitcoins or Federal Reserve notes at metal.lrn.fm. That's metal.lrn.fm.
Did you know that you can listen to LRN.FM 24/7 via our free-to-air satellite channel? From Mexico to Canada, our signal covers nearly all of North America. All you need is a view of the southern sky, an affordable receiver, and a dish as small as 30 inches. There are no monthly fees. Learn more at sat.lrn.fm. Plus, if you're a broadcaster or want to be one, this is a good delivery method for our content. See our coverage map and get details at sat.lrn.fm. That's sat.lrn.fm.
I've been told no in many different ways.
I give you an order and you're going to obey it.
George, you can go this way. You can do that and you have to leave here.
You cannot bring Simon to the route.
Walk with me. Well, I'm comfortable here, actually.
Whoa, excuse me. Hey,
who do you think
excuse me. There is no video, no audio allowed in this.
No, I have work today. You ain't gonna make. Wait a minute.
Hey! Oh my God! Unbelievable! Because you're scared of me. What am I being detained for? You're being served. What is this? You're being served.
Bureaucrats have a funny way of telling people no.
That's the sound of the men working on the chain.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com.
You can connect with the Liberty Radio Network via our Facebook page at facebook.lrn.fm. That's facebook.lrn.fm.
What's up? What's up? Welcome back. This is Peace News. You can dial in, share your stories of peaceful resistance or your thoughts on what we've shared so far. Our call-in line is 443-424-8347. Spells out hi-fi civ dis, as in civil disobedience. You can also send a Skype contact request to Peace News Now or tweet at derekj.me. Want to hear from you. Coming to you now, a story from DeKalb, Illinois, where a young man named Ryan was pulled over by police at what appeared to be just a regular checkpoint, one of those unconstitutional checkpoints, like the government follows the Constitution anyway. And then check out what happens here. Let's watch this video together and then return to talk about it. Take a listen.
Evening, officer.
Good evening.
Before we continue, I'd just like to let you know that you are being recorded right now.
Okay, that's fine.
So I would just like to know why I'm being pulled over.
We're doing a roadside safety check.
Okay.
Okay.
Am I being detained?
What's that?
Am I being detained?
Well, right now we're just conducting our job, making sure that
Okay.
everyone's on the road driving safely.
Okay. Is that
Yes, you can't. You are not free to leave right
so far? Everybody's being safe. Am I being detained then?
now. You're not free to leave.
Am I
Okay?
being detained? If I'm not free to leave, then you're suspecting me of committing a crime. Then am I being detained?
Making sure that everybody's driving safely.
Oh, I understand. Thank you for.
Now, I've
for
explained
doing the
myself.
job. Absolutely.
Okay. And we do have the legal right to stop you right now.
Oh, I
So
believe this is
Okay, hold on,
unconstitutional,
hold on, I'm
but
speaking. Now, like I said, I've asked you for your driver's license and proof of
you actually
insurance.
didn't
Now,
ask
please
me
give it
for
to me.
my driver's license, but I'm actually not obligated to provide that if I'm not being detained.
What? You are
Whoa,
obligated.
whoa,
You're obligated. Get out now.
Whoa.
Get out now. Driving's a privilege,
Sir.
not a right. I'm telling you to get out right now.
Excuse me, I'm not.
We asked for your
resisting at all.
license and insurance. Yes, you are
I
resisting
can
at this
provide.
point.
No, sir, I
And
can
give us
provide
your
it.
license and insurance, like he
Absolutely.
was asked.
Absolutely, sir. This is my license here.
Okay, now get your insurance. That's
Okay.
required by law.
All right.
Driving's a privilege, not a right.
Absolutely, sir. I completely.
We're not going to
agree.
sit here and debate with you.
Okay, well, this is very unconstitutional. What you're doing.
No, you know what?
And
This is not unconstitutional. I already explained it to you. Driving's
Sir,
a privilege and not a right.
Understood. This is my driver's
Good.
license. My
Thank
insurance
you.
card. You're welcome.
That's what you're required to do to drive in Illinois.
I
Do
would-
you know understand that?
Absolutely.
Do you understand
I would
that?
also like to inform you that you are being recorded right now.
Good.
Okay. Can I please
You were
shut my
asked.
door?
No.
Since I'm not being detained.
No.
What am I being detained for exactly, sir? If I am
We
being
asked for your
detained.
driver's license and insurance card, which you're required to have when you drive in the state of Illinois.
Understood.
Correct?
Correct. That is correct.
That's
and
what
I
you
do.
were asked
And I
for.
do have that. Correct. I
don't know. I'm looking at it. You refused to
I
provide
did
it
not
originally,
refuse.
didn't you?
Absolutely not. I did not refuse anything.
Is this
I
your current address?
I asked. I would not like
Is
to
this
answer
your
any-
current address?
I'd like to remain silent, sir, unless I have an attorney present.
Is this your current address?
I would like to remain silent, sir. I would like to exercise my Fifth Amendment right.
Do you have a more current insurance card?
I would like to exercise my Fifth Amendment right. Everything there is completely valid and legal, and I'd like to exercise my Fifth Amendment right from here on out. Unless I
I'm
have
sorry,
an
what
attorney.
was that?
I would like to exercise my Fifth Amendment right from here on out,
What
unless
does
I have
the
an
Fifth
attorney.
Amendment say?
That I have the right to remain silent.
Really?
Absolutely.
Are you sure?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Am I free to leave?
John. Yes, sir,
Thank
you
you.
are.
You guys have a great night.
Oh, he's so mad. Oh, that guy is so angry. I love it. Wait, let's pull this back. Play that last part again where he's talking about the Fifth Amendment.
Right. From here on out, unless
I'm
I have
sorry,
an
what
attorney.
was that?
I would like to exercise my Fifth Amendment right from here on out,
What
unless
does
I
the
have
Fifth
an attorney.
Amendment say?
That I have the right to remain silent.
Really? Are
Absolutely.
you sure?
I think he's asking because he doesn't know. He's like, really? What does the Fifth Amendment say? I have no idea what you're talking about. I thought I just barked orders at you and you're supposed to obey.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
He
My
slams
friend
the door. Oh, the guy says, thank you, as he takes his ticket. Oh, God, that's hilarious. I don't even think he got a ticket. I think he hands him his license and registration and proof of insurance back. But isn't that hilarious? I don't know. It shows me you can laugh at this police state. Like, you can laugh. I know it's sad. People are in jail. My friends are in jail. But there are some things that are just too funny. You just gotta laugh at them. And if he didn't have a video camera, it would be scary. If I were alone in this sort of situation, there were a dude a couple inches from my face and he's screaming, spitting at me, I would be terrified. And I would be thinking, I might not make it home. I might not see my family again. I'll never have a fun time. I'll be in jail for the rest of my life. Who knows? What these people could do at some of these checkpoints, just take you away. Who knows? It's scary because it's like some threatening guy. There's a bunch of lights. It's a strange situation. Being without friends or any sort of protection. With police, you're trapped. They're in control of the situation until they let you go. You're asking, like, am I detained? Am I on a hook? Am I like a fish on a hook? Is my lip gonna get ripped out if I try and walk away? So this thing is so funny to me. The the takeaway is bring a video camera with you everywhere you go, because if you don't have a video camera, if you don't have your smartphone ready to be live streaming, then you really are alone. You really are at risk of being imprisoned, about having police lie in court about whether or not he refused to give over his ID, as the officer tried to accuse him of. Well, no, he had it on record. He didn't refuse anything. So a couple takeaways from this. First, record. Second, look, the police didn't even have an issue with the recording. Neither of them. Both of them said, that's okay. That shows you how far we've come, where the people have the right to record the police now, and they're actually okay with it. Well, that's a real victory right there, culturally. So keep doing it. Keep recording. Make it the norm. It should be the norm, no matter where you are. You always have the right to record police in their, when they're conducting their official duties. What else? If he didn't record, it would be a really scary thing. But since he did, he was able to upload it to YouTube. Everyone's able to see it. They're able to learn from it. And also, it's not as scary, right? Because we're all there in the car with him. We get to laugh at this because we outnumber the police. If it were him versus two police, it would be a really scary situation. But in this case, it's two dumb police versus like 5 million people. This has already been seen by 500,000 people on his YouTube page alone. But it's been seen by 750,000 people on his YouTube page. I don't know what I said earlier. Facebook. On his Facebook, 500,000. And so over 1 million people have already seen this video already. And it was just posted 1 week ago. So that shows you the power of the internet, the power of peaceful resistance, the power of video recording. It's amazing. So keep doing it. Keep recording. This is the best tool, the best weapon that you have in your arsenal to make peace happen around the world. Your video camera is integral to that process. Another thing, if you live in a community of activists, you can use one of these. And what I'm holding up right now is a two-way radio, so that you can communicate via two-way, like a walkie-talkie sort of thing, with your friends and community. If you live near people that you would want to respond if you have a fire or an intruder or a theft or whatever, picking up a $10 set of 2 walkie-talkies and giving one to your neighbor as a gift, I mean, you keep yourself and your neighbor a whole lot safer, and you really strengthen the whole community. Eventually, I think it'll be that way, that it's decentralized. We depend on our own networks to respond to emergencies. We don't expect the police to solve our problems for us. But when we come back, it looks like we'll have a special caller. Look forward to speaking with him and with you. You can dial in 443-424-8347 or send a Skype contact request to Peace News Now. We'll be right back after this trip to the free market.
Keenvention is coming up October 31st through November 2nd. Get your tickets now at keenvention.info. Keenvention is your chance to meet dozens of key liberty activists from across the Shire. You can explore the beautiful little city of Keene, discuss various forms of activism with seasoned veterans, attend social events like the costume party, Keenvention received rave reviews last year. If you missed it, visit keenvention.info for full video coverage of every speaker and panel. This year, James Robin Hood Cleveland, Rich Paul, and Free State Project President Carla Garrick will be keynoting. And we'll have all kinds of panels, including the new CopBlock panel and the new Movers panel hosted by the outlaw Josie Wales. Join old and new friends and neighbors in Keene for Keenvention this October 31st through November 2nd. Only 100 tickets are available in advance, so lock yours in now for just $60 or with Bitcoin. Reserve your tickets now at keenvention.info. Visit keenvention.info for more, or look for our page and event on Facebook. That's keenvention.info. When I found the Free State Project, I knew it was the key to achieving liberty in my lifetime. It's awesome to be surrounded by like-minded, freedom-loving activists who've moved here to New Hampshire. From politics to civil disobedience, we have it all. Where I came from, it felt that no matter what I did, liberty was dying. Perhaps you feel the same way? Call 888-377-2515 now to learn more about the Free State Project. That's 888-377-2515 or visit freestateproject.org.
Are you about to meet the media? If you're about to be interviewed, do their homework for them. Know this about the person who will interview you. He or she is busy, so expect minimal, if any, preparation. He or she doesn't know as much about your topic as you do. He or she isn't as concerned as you are about getting your message out, so you need to take responsibility. Provide a biography and fact sheet, photographs, or other materials that tell your story. Reporters won't be put off if you supply frequently asked questions. Remember, Public Speaking 101, at the end of the speech, what's the one thing you want them to remember? You can download the document I supply to reporters who interview me and squirm through a video that demonstrates how not to conduct your media interview at www.survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats, the recipes, the hot girls, the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's posts pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that 1/10 of a calorie it takes to click on something. Facebook.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live.
The heavy-handed language that you're speaking out against the government is, I've never heard anything like this on the radio.
When the founding fathers decided that the government of England was no longer servicing their needs, they stopped paying their taxes first.
Don't you drive on the roads? Aren't you glad you're defended from the foreigners?
Sir, they stole this man's
foreigners
property.
are coming to get me.
But yeah, they stole these. These aren't foreigners I need to be defended from. It's these people down the street calling themselves government that are willing to steal my property from me and burn my house to the ground, which is what they did to this man.
It's not yours. The government owns it.
Really? Are you telling me, sir, that every one of us are actually serfs? We're actually subjects and slaves to the state? Is that what you're telling me?
Well, if it sounds good to you.
No, that doesn't sound good. I don't accept it. I'm a free man.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM. While our satellite channel is free to listen to, it's not free for us. You can help us cover us with the chip in on the right side of the page at LRN.FM.
Driving's a privilege, not a right.
My driver's license, but I'm actually not obligated to provide that if I'm not being detained.
What? You are
Whoa!
Obligated. Get out now.
Whoa!
Get out now. Driving's a privilege,
Sir.
not a right. I'm telling you to get out right now.
Oh, these crazy cops. You know, this comment was posted by Ryan, the man who took the video of that checkpoint officer going crazy. He wrote below on his Facebook posts, quote, "I was just stopped at an unconstitutional checkpoint in Tacoma, Illinois. This was Illinois State Police conducting the unconstitutional searches. You won't believe how this just went down. I completely forgot to ask for name and badge number because this guy scared the S out of me. He was not aware that he was being recorded when he ripped my door open. Unbelievable. This kind of misconduct and behavior is not acceptable. This is what happens when you exercise your constitutional rights as a law-abiding American citizen. This incident ironically occurred on Thank a Police Officer Day. Share the hell out of this and make this video go viral. Hashtag #IRecordPolice, then tagged CopBlock and We Cop Watch, Cop Logic, Florida Cop Watch, and Hands Up, Don't Shoot. Awesome, awesome article. And now we turn to your calls. You can dial in, share your stories of peaceful resistance by calling 443-424-8347 or sending a Skype contact request to Peace News Now, as James in Arizona has done. Welcome to the program, James.
What I find especially pathetic about that roadside jerk-off, Derek J., is that he's confusing his Fifth Amendment right to remain silent in a court of law with the Supreme Court activist, as it was, invented so-called Miranda right to remain silent on the side of the road if he were to be detained by the cops.
That's very interesting.
But I bet not one out of the 500,000 viewers on the boob tube could quote the Fifth Amendment Bill of Rights off the top of their head, because I sure as hell can't. It's actually very wordy and some of it's kind of archaic. But again, to defend the cop, he is absolutely right. If you've ever read any of the fine print when you get a license, it is a privilege, not a right. And I don't begrudge cops. I don't like roadside checks either, Derek J. And the only time I've ever had to go through one was on the 4th of July, because there's this huge lake not too far away from where I live where thousands and thousands of people go to party on holidays, and they drink a lot. And so unbeknownst to some of the drunk a-holes, there's only one way out of that lake on the east side, and if they try to drive home drunk, they're gonna go home in a tank car.
Any other thoughts that you want to share?
Well, I don't begrudge the police for doing such things, but you can call it activism to get in a poor cop's face and harass him when all he had to do was give him his freaking license and registration and proof of insurance. That's really not asking much, and it's not the end of the world, and it doesn't make it a police state for one to have to do such a thing.
Okay, thank you very much for your call. I appreciate your calls and your thoughts as always. James in Arizona. I guess James is right. If you read the fine print, you're submitting to all sorts of things. That's why I call citizens submittizens. There really is no freedom that exists in the world today. We have to build it for ourselves. There are all of these coercive agreements that are made. If you want to be a person who lives in the industrial world, it's not because the government built the roads that we rely on them. I mean, it's so frustrating. As a person, I want to travel free. I want to use the roads, and I don't want to get a driver's license and agree to all of these ridiculous intrusions on my privacy. I don't feel like, as a human being, I should be under the thumb of just random strangers who, it's such a complicated issue, driving. I wish I had kept James on longer so that I could ask him some questions, but we get a little argumentative sometimes when he's on. Call in, share your thoughts about driving, about your obligation to use the roads and to agree with whatever sort of rules the government comes up with. But let's turn now to one of those ridiculous rules, a video that was released just this week of an officer-involved shooting. Take a listen. This from WLTX.com.
Have your license, please. Get out of the car! Get out of the car! Get on the ground! Get on the ground!
I just got my license. You're taking my license. I grabbed my license right here. That's my license right there.
Put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back.
All right, so what we just heard was a man being shot at a gas station in South Carolina. For what? What crime? Well, it turns out the officer who shot him saw that he didn't wear a seatbelt. Oh no, that's one of those traffic laws that you agreed to. And what happens if you don't follow all the rules that you agreed to follow? Well, you just might get shot. That's my problem with the people who own the roads currently. It's not that we wouldn't have roads in an anarchic society. It would be that there would be clear owners of those roads. It wouldn't just be, the federal government, the state government, these groups of bureaucrats faceless somewhere, they own the roads and the rules get enforced by trigger-happy thugs. No, it would be a business like a Walmart or a Panera Bread or a Starbucks, and they would have people who are accountable for whatever the rules are. There's no one cutting in line in Starbucks, and if they do, it gets resolved. There's no one, I don't know what the crime would be, the equivalent of not wearing a seatbelt in a Starbucks, or what would be, I don't know, if they walk in with no clothes on or something. There are rules about that, and they'll kick you out. But they don't enforce that with guns. They don't say, hey, we really need guns to show up. There is a better way. There is a better way, is all I'm saying. That's all I offer, is that I don't have all the solutions. I don't know what the real freedom society would look like, but it wouldn't look like this. It wouldn't look like a man being shot for getting his driver's license when a police officer sees him driving without a seatbelt on. That's not freedom. That's not any kind of first world that I want to live in, where a person could just be shot at random by a man in a badge. And now what happened to this police officer, you ask? Was he reprimanded? Was he punished? No. There's no charges. He was excused. He has done nothing wrong. In fact, the man who was shot was charged, let's see, with assault. Let's see. Yeah, the man was taken from the dash cam, 31-year-old Sean Goldbert's vehicle during an encounter in which Goldbert shot 35-year-old LeVar Jones. The incident took place. Goldbert was charged Wednesday with assault and battery of a high and aggravated nature in connection with the incident. Bond was set at $75,000. Okay, so there we go. Actually, something good happened. I wonder if we can get some sort of follow-up. If, so often these people are just excused. So let's see. The charges filed Wednesday were brought forward. Goldbert faces a maximum of 20 years in prison. Okay, great. So it's not just without penalty. He shoots a guy, there's going to be some penalties. This is the episode of Peace News Now where things are turning around. There are some consequences for these police who act so violently against the general public. Let's turn to the next story while we still can. Saudi Arabia, speaking of violent, a U.S. ally beheads 8 people last month. This, according to the Washington Post. They've got the story, and this is so important now as it's developing that the U.S. is making friends with Saudi Arabia in connection with after bombing Syria. Now, so they're bombing Syria, they're bombing Iraq and Afghanistan. Most of the Middle East is now being rained upon by U.S. bombs, except in Saudi Arabia. Yeah. What's the U.S.'s strategy here? Do they really care about justice or about ending beheadings? Well, clearly not, if they beheaded 8 people last month. We've got the story from the Washington Post. This article came out on September 11th, of all dates, just enough to miss the major headlines. We'll take your calls. This is Peace News.
This Your Family Today tip is brought to you by Nestle Pure Life Water, helping you drink better and live better by providing a zero-calorie alternative to sugary drinks. Visit us at nestle-purelife.us. When kids are playing, they often don't want to stop to keep hydrated. So send them out with a bottle of water and encourage them to take frequent drink breaks or call them inside for a quick sip. For more tips like these, visit us at parenthood.com/yourfamilytoday.
I am a non-attorney spokesperson. Attention men who've taken Androgel or any other testosterone therapy products. Androgel or other low-T products have been linked to heart attack, stroke, pulmonary embolism, deep vein thrombosis, even death. Scientific studies indicate that the use of testosterone therapy products may double a man's risk of heart attack. If you or a loved one took Androgel or a testosterone therapy product and suffered from a heart attack, stroke, pulmonary embolism, deep vein thrombosis, sepsis, or any other cardiac event, you might be entitled to financial compensation. You have rights, and you need to let us fight for your rights. And you pay no fees unless we win. So call the tort attorneys right now. 800-708-7917. 800-708-7917. 800-708-7917. 800-708-7917. Cases may be referred to participating law firms in your jurisdiction.
Now that you've found the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM, you may want to help expose others to our great programs. To assist you in doing so, you'll find resources at promote.lrn.fm, including details on how to get a free bumper sticker, quarter-page flyers you can print out and distribute, banners for your website, as well as files that will allow you to make your own custom banners and graphics. Visit promote.lrn.fm and help bring new listeners to the Liberty Radio Network. That's promote.lrn.fm.
Are you a political activist who does things that the government might not like? Then this free ebook may save your life. Rats is your guide to protecting yourself against snitches, informers, informants, agents provocateur, narcs, finks, and similar vermin. Rats was written by OG libertarian Claire Wolfe. Rats is a short book, easy to read, and available free in many formats. Download Rats free at rats-nosnitch.com. That's rats-nosnitch.com.
Instead of just listening, you can also watch. See the Liberty Radio Network's key New Hampshire-based live shows via our studio cam at cam.lrn.fm. Plus, you'll still be able to listen to the Liberty Radio Network via the cam feed in high quality 24/7, even when there's no live show being produced in our Keene studio. But wait, there's more. Our chat room is built into the cam page so you can interact with other listeners online. Listen, watch, and chat, all free at cam.lrn.fm. That's cam.lrn.fm.
Free Press Publications is an independent, alternative media and publishing company founded in June 2009 with the mission of ensuring a free press for the freedom movement and is committed to spreading the message of peace, freedom, love, and liberty. FPP also gives new authors an avenue for publishing freedom-oriented material. FPP brings you daily news and commentary on the website, fpp.cc, as well as a daily 5-minute newscast, FPP Radio News, and weekly news, views, and commentary in the FPP Freedom Minute and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio at fppradio.com, and the monthly newspaper, FPP News, at news.fpp.cc. Find FPP online at fpp.cc. That's fpp.cc, as in Creative Commons.
Help get LRN.FM into more ears. Visit promote.lrn.fm for a free bumper sticker, flyers, banners, graphics, and more. Promote.lrn.fm.
Welcome back. This is the final segment of Peace News. Still time for your calls if you make them now. 443-424-8347 is our call-in line, or you can send a Skype contact request to Peace News Now. I will accept it and put you on the air. We return to a story of Saudi Arabia. A key to Obama's strategy beheaded 8 people last month. This article came out on September 11th, but didn't capture a lot of attention in the mainstream press. I'd like to shine a spotlight on it now. Plus, we'll get to a story of the heart of the Klamath, an article by Liz Reitzig at her website, nourishingliberty.com. I also want to invite you to listen tonight on LRN.FM, the Liberty Radio Network, to a program I host on Sunday nights called Freedom Fiends. It's 7 days a week at freedomfiends.com. You can catch all of the archives there. But it's not your grandparents' talk radio. It's a show that features 12 different late-night co-hosts, all crazy insomniacs who are anarchists and post-liberty folks. We're so post-liberty, we don't even talk about it on that show anymore. We mostly just talk about cats and bacon and other things that we love. So check it out, Freedom Fiends, freedomfiends.com, or you can find all the links to the episodes I've hosted by going to derekj.me, and then just click on the link on the side that says blog Freedom Fiends. Check it all out, all there for you. at derekj.me. Now let's return to the Washington Post, where U.S. Secretary of State John F. Kerry was in Saudi Arabia on Thursday earlier this month, meeting delegations of Arab diplomats as the Obama administration attempts to cobble together a coalition of allies to confront the threat of the Islamic State. Oh, wait a minute. The Islamic State. There are no illusions that the task ahead will be easy, and President Obama stressed in his Wednesday night speech the vital role of Arab states, what they have to play in the terror organization's insurgency, the active cooperation of Saudi Arabia with its vast oil wealth, its well-equipped military, and its broader influence among the Middle East's Sunni states is key to any extended U.S. war effort in Iraq and Syria, as the Post's Ann Garan reports from Jeddah. Though long an incubator of the Salafist ideology that now inflames the Islamic State and the militant groups of its ilk, the kingdom has grown increasingly concerned with the destabilizing chaos the Islamic State has wrought in the region. But that doesn't mean the state ideology is necessarily changing. The country is notorious for its draconian laws, which are derived from a strict Wahhabist interpretation of Islamic doctrine. In the space of 2 weeks last month, according to the rights group Amnesty International, Saudi Arabia executed as many as 22 people. At least 8 of those executed were beheaded. It appears that the majority of those executed in August were guilty of non-lethal crimes, including drug trafficking, adultery, apostasy, and sorcery. 4 members of one family, Amnesty reports, were beheaded for, quote, receiving drugs. Let me repeat that. 4 members of one family were beheaded for receiving drugs. Yeah, and this is somehow considered an ally? Saudi Arabia is conspicuous in being the sole country to regularly carry out beheadings. Doesn't sound like much of an ally to me. Last year, a reported shortage of trained swordsmen led to some hope that the practice would wane, but recent evidence suggests otherwise. It's an uncomfortable irony given that the United States' current military mobilization was triggered after the Islamic State beheaded 2 American journalists. Quote, beheading as a form of execution is cruel, inhuman, and degrading treatment and prohibited under international law under all circumstances, said Juan Mendez, a UN special reporter on torture and other cruel, inhuman, and degrading treatment or punishment. Beyond the grisliness of the method of punishment, observers also point to the unjust ways in which those who face death penalties are found guilty. Quote, the execution of people accused of petty crimes on the basis of confessions extracted through torture has become shamefully common in Saudi Arabia. Hey, isn't that the reason why most people are in Guantanamo Bay? Oh, never mind. Let's ignore that. It's absolutely shocking to witness the kingdom's authorities' callous disregard for fundamental human rights, Amnesty said. In violation of the Convention of the Rights of the Child, Saudi Arabia executed at least 1 person under the age of 18 this year, according to Amnesty International. At least half of all executions in Saudi Arabia since 1985 have involved foreign nationals, including domestic workers, whose harsh treatment under Saudi law has riled rights groups in the past. Quote, despite calls by human rights bodies, Saudi Arabia continues to execute individuals with appalling regularity in a flagrant disregard of international law standards. In July, the United Nations also condemned Saudi Arabia's continuing trend of harassment of human rights advocates in the country. U.S. politicians, including the outspoken Senator John McCain, routinely hector over the state of human rights in Iran, Saudi Arabia's main geopolitical rival in the Middle East, and a country with far more democratic political systems than the Saudis, but they are more quiet about the many abuses carried out in the kingdom. Very interesting article at the Washington Post. Not a typical article that I would expect to read over there. Critical of the Obama administration and their allies, Saudi Arabia. Yeah, they executed 22 or so people. And you'll see the cover of this article also features several other war criminals from Saudi Arabia, plus John Kerry. So check out that article at the Washington Post. We'll have it in the links of the show notes of this episode. Now we turn to our final article of the episode, The Heart of the Klamath River. You can read this at nourishingliberty.com, where Liz Reitzig pens just some of the most terrific articles about the environment and the state of true human freedom. Here she writes, water rights is an issue of escalating importance, especially in California, as corporate government collusion lead to loss of water rights for the people within the region who depend on the sustenance of such natural resources within their geographic area. The contention around the Klamath River between those whose lives are destroyed by transferring stewardship of the ecosystem to those who have no interest in nurturing the ecosystem for future generations epitomizes the consequences of government corporate collusion and the inherent loss of life that comes from such corruption. She writes, quote, "Where the sun kisses the horizon behind a buried juniper tree and the lowly buckbrush, mighty Mount Shasta, or Waka, the creator's footprint, to the people who live there, looks on and grins at the age-old romance. Slowly, a river teases her way through the uncut woods of the Cascade Mountains, through California deserts, and into deep canyons, dancing into the open arms of the sweeping Pacific. To some, whose ancestors' bones are buried along that river, she is everything. Since ancient times, they have revered the mighty Klamath River, honored her seasons, and allowed her to seduce them into the pleasures of abundance. In turn, they agreed to protect her. The Shasta people are her heart, pulsating, beating, breathing with her, and, in times of tragedy, breathing for her. Their ancestral memories tell stories of tepid waters teeming with life, offering sustenance for winter hunger pains. Cloudy green drops nourish the surrounding forest as the spring crescendo bursts through the pregnant banks and saturates the soil, leaving soft footprints of minerals carefully carried from her journey. In the heat of summer, the accompanying land caresses new lives, gently coaxing them as they tentatively embrace the fragility of existence. The crisp crunch of the ground, autumnal foliage, is as curious contrast to the soothing lullaby of swift currents. Unfortunately, we're out of time. We're not going to make it to the end of the story of the Klamath River. You'll have to read the rest on your own at nourishingliberty.com. In the meantime, you can catch past episodes of this show, Peace News, at peacenewsnow.com. And catch me tonight on Freedom Fiends, hosted on LRN.FM.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the